guys, how are we? Welcome to my channel. If you don't know me yet, my name is Neeti Sharma. I am your go-to brown girl for all things brown girl advice, confidence, dating, tips, just chit chats. If you don't already follow me, you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. First of all, before I want to start, I want to apologize for the lighting. The sun is just hitting in 12 different directions right now. So if the lighting isn't the best, my apology. What I wanted to talk about today was navigating relationships in Desi households and with having Desi parents. This is such a juicy topic. I literally cannot get over like how many of you guys have asked me to do this video, because I just feel like in the brown community, whether you're Desi or not, like whatever, and you know what, lots of other communities as well, dating is such a big controversial, like hot topic, okay? And I feel like it's such a hot topic in our culture because it's something that everybody does on the lows, but kind of like forbidden in our culture. It's not as like openly accepted as I would say like it is in other cultures, like for example like in North America and stuff, like where I live. And so that's why it's such a hot topic, because everyone's like, girl, like how do I navigate this because my parents don't allow it? I'm gonna kind of generalize. Most Desi parents, so I don't know if you're from India, you're from Sri Lanka, like from Pakistan, like you're just from any South Asian country, you're basically South Asian. Dating is not really looked upon like it's something positive. I'm like saying this so politically correct. It's not a thing in our culture, and it goes back to because we had arranged marriages. That's the common norm in our culture, arranged marriages, and there's a lot of taboo around arranged marriage, to be honest. Like arranged marriage is basically like the fact that like probably your grandparents or maybe even your parents, like in India, like or even in any other country, the parents will set like the kids up for marriage. So either like they know people or they know family friends or they just know of somebody, or even like it goes back to like people will literally put like newspaper ads, the families will meet and basically arrange the marriage for you. Now there's obviously extremes of arranged marriage. Some are like completely blind, like you just meet the person on the wedding day, which I know that actually sounds pretty crazy to me. And there's other times where like the parents will like they'll meet like maybe 5-6 times, like the kids will kind of get to hang out alone. I say kids, like obviously they're adults, will get to hang out alone, and then kind of like, but the parents like are having more of the say. And so that's kind of like I live in Canada, right? It's super taboo. Like people are like, oh my god, arranged marriage, like that concept is crazy, right? Basically just in our culture, like the parents are super involved when you're getting married, like, and a lot of times like the parents do have a big say. And I think that just goes into like our culture, like we are parents and family are just really important to us, and like we don't really have that like individualistic mindset where we just like go out and do our own thing and parents just don't have a say. And so yeah, they have like a big say in our marriages and our culture. Now obviously, like in my opinion, arranged marriages are kind of phasing out a little bit. Obviously I think with like the new generation, like we're not really getting arranged marriages. In fact, I actually joke all the time that like, bro, get me an arranged marriage, like it's actually not that bad of an idea, but that's another topic. So most of us are dating. Like it's actually funny because my parents had a love marriage, so like meaning like love marriage just means like they fell in love and got married, like it wasn't arranged, like normal or like dating, I guess. But it's not really dating because you weren't really allowed to just like go on dates and like be with a man. Basically you shouldn't be doing these things like before marriage. You should only like be with a man and like going out with him, doing things with him when like you're married. And like this whole dating of like being unmarried and doing this stuff is like what is really looked down upon in our culture. And so for example, my parents had like a love marriage, so like they basically like met and then like got married, like it wasn't arranged. And that's considered like a big deal because like my parents' generation, that was like in the 90s, right? And that was in India. But so there's a lot of people whose parents have arranged marriages. Maybe they even are in the idea of like about to get an arranged marriage. Like there are still people whose parents are like getting them an arranged marriage and they don't agree with like dating. And so navigating dating in a Desi household is really, really tricky because it's not usually accepted and it's not a concept that's like known to like, for example, your parents. And the whole concept of like being with a man and doing things and going out with him and being seen with him, it's just taboo when you're not married. It's like you're not supposed to be doing these things before you're married, and that's just like how it is engraved in our culture. I don't actually think that it's necessarily like coming out of like a bad place or coming out of being too conservative. I think it's just like the times have changed. There are certain things, for example, that I'm not gonna get into that I don't think you should be doing before marriage, you know what I'm saying? But obviously if you're watching this video, you're somebody who is wanting to date, you want to find your own partner, you're like, bro, I'm not having an arranged marriage, that's okay. I think that that's pretty common, like I'm literally like you. But navigating it and like going with your parents can be really tricky because they're not going to accept it, they're probably not going to like it. So I wanted to kind of give some advice on that. And of course I always want to emphasize that like everybody's family is different, like, you know, some are more conservative, some are more lenient, so like it's like a spectrum, like so it would really depend on like where your parents lay on that. I feel like some of you guys are probably like, well, mine are on the extreme end. end. Yeah, and so I think like it kind of depends on where your parents are at. If they're really like, no, arranged marriage is like what you're gonna do, then dating is gonna be a really hard concept to bring up. But I think a lot of parents are kind of like maybe a little bit more open to that idea nowadays, especially if you live in the West, and they're open to the idea that you probably will date. There are some tips though that I have for you when it comes to like navigating that with your family. One big thing I want to tell you is don't go out of your way to tell your parents about your relationship until you feel very, very certain. I feel like this is a mistake I made. I, one, am really close to my parents and I didn't really like hiding it. I don't know, whatever. Some people will say I don't have a problem with that, but like I didn't want to hide it, and so I just kind of went and told my parents when I had a relationship. And it's not that I regret it. Like, I mean, it's just like telling them is going to be a little bit of a shock for them. It's going to come with turmoil. It's going to come with arguments. Like, they might not love it. Yeah, like my parents came around and they were like okay with it. But I just think like don't put yourself or your family through that turmoil unless you were like 100% sure about it. And if I'm being completely honest, I know how harsh it's going to sound. If you're in high school, if you're really young, even if you've been with them for like 2 years, 3 years, that might not necessarily be your partner if you're that young forever. And so I almost feel like just save yourself and save your family like all that drama, because also if you're gonna put yourself through that, you don't want to then just go and break up with them, and then that's gonna also make your parents feel like, oh, okay, well now what, like now let's just get an arranged marriage because like that relationship didn't work. It's just putting your family through stuff, especially if they're more conservative, that like they don't want to go through. And so even if you love them and you think you're gonna get married to them right now, I really think just wait until like maybe you're a little older, maybe around the age of marriage, maybe you guys are both 500% sure, pray about it, I don't know, but like don't go and tell your parents things. I think like this is what I would tell my younger self, unless you were really sure about it, because I went and told my parents about a relationship and then it didn't even last. So I'm kind of like, why did I go through all of that? You know what I'm saying? Like it's I don't know, I just don't think it's the best thing to do. But of course, like if you still want to do it, do it. I think that like one thing you have to remember is that your parents at the end of the day like want what's best for you. I actually do think that parents have a lot of good knowledge when it comes to like what partner would be good for you. And sometimes like I feel like our generation, like we don't even credit that. Like we're like, well, they don't know what they're talking about, they don't know how it is, they're not gonna find me a good guy. I'm not saying to get an arranged marriage and listen to what they're saying, but parents do have some sort of like knowledge. One, they know you inside and out. They know everything about you. They know how you are. They know your personality, and therefore they know like what would work with you. I actually think most of the time they know like what kind of person would do well with you. They know your personality. They know like, you know, also like they themselves have been in a marriage, and I know you're gonna say like not all of their marriages are healthy. Even if they're not in a healthy marriage, I'm sure that they realize some things about like what takes a good marriage. They can see things because they're much older than us that we can't always see. And so sometimes I actually feel like what they have to say does have value, and sometimes I think in our generation we're just like, they don't know what they're talking about. They do have value, and so them having a say in it, I don't actually think is like the worst thing. That doesn't mean like, okay, you just blindly marry whoever they say, but I do think that like when you are at that stage of like wanting to get married and stuff, like it is really important to kind of get their opinion, because they know things that we don't know, you know. Just like going with that. Yeah, at the end of the day, your parents do want what's best for you, and they want you to be happy. And I feel like you really have to remember that. And I really kind of hold on to that when it comes to like telling your parents or like navigating dating. Like I always hold on to the fact that like my parents wouldn't want me to be miserable, therefore they would never force me to like marry someone, for example. But they also like, if I told them that I was madly in love with somebody and like this is my person and I was 100% sure about it, which I have to be 100% sure about it, I wouldn't just say that, I think that they would kind of come around to it, just because at the end of the day your parents like want what's best for you. So really hold on to that. Obviously, if you're like going on dates right now, like if you're in the stage of like, oh, I'm not actually seeing someone seriously, like you're single, like for example, I'm single, but like, oh, I'm just going on dates, I'm just doing this. I don't think like that concept is gonna really go over well in a Desi household. Like some parents are gonna get it, and maybe some parents are cool. Like my parents are a little bit more chill. Like I can tell, for example, my mom, like, oh, I wanted a date, I did this, like she's okay with it. But I don't think like telling your parents like, oh my god, I just wanted a date, I'm doing this, like with this guy, then this guy, like it's not gonna go over well, because the whole idea of like guys, it's just they don't want you to get a like it's a backwards mindset, but they don't want that for you. Like they don't want to know that you're just like seeing multiple people and stuff, like even though that's what dating is. Like I would kind of refrain from telling them that. I would really only go and tell them when they're very, very serious and sure about someone. And obviously some things are gonna change. You could be really sure about someone and tell your parents like I was, and then it doesn't end up lasting. Like that's okay, that's life. Like, you know, I'm sure your parents will understand. Yeah, it is not easy to navigate navigate dating. So I feel like be easy on yourself in a Desi household. Like, it is kind of like a big topic. You know, it's really interesting because our whole entire community is so obsessed with like the idea of marriage. Like, brown people are obsessed with marriages. Why are our weddings so big? Like, it's so crazy to me. And so that is like such a big thing. Like, you getting married is like probably a much bigger deal if you're South Asian than it is in like other cultures. And so yeah, a lot of times I'll also be out here like from friends, like there'll be parents who are like pressuring them to get married, and then like they also are like, no, but like I'm trying to find my own partner. And like sometimes they'll be like, oh, I meet this guy, like they're kind of arranging it, but then you like want to date. I think just like you could talk to your parents nicely and just be like, oh, like, you know, like I really just want to like take a, like, obviously depending on how like conservative they are, like you could tell them like, you know, I'm just meeting people. I'm like, oh, and even saying that I'm like, ugh. Or you will find someone who you need some more time. If they want to introduce you to people, like you could kind of like go meet them if you like, just to ease their mind, but that doesn't mean that you have to be with them. I think like try to work together, not work against each other, you know. And I'm hoping that like parents could compromise a little bit and you could too, kind of like meet in the middle where like maybe you are not disregarding what they have to say and like who they want you to meet, but then you're also like they're kind of understanding of like person. There is a lot of pressure, so be on yourself. I think you also have to like trust the universe and the gods or whatever you believe in timing it, like, you know, I will meet the right person at the right time. Maybe that's through your parents, maybe it's not. I think just like be more open, be easy on yourself, be really careful about word getting around, I think, in our community, like back to your parents and stuff, because you just don't want to like scare them like that. Just remember also at the end of the day that they love you and they care about you and they want your best interest, like they want you to be happy. I don't think that there is a parent on this earth, like take it with a grain of salt, who would want something that's not in your best interest. And I think that you have to trust that your family's like would want what's in your best interest at the end of the day. And like a lot of times I've heard stories of people who like their parents are really conservative, they've ended up even marrying people, let's say, outside of the culture. Everyone's parents that I've really heard, most of them, I'm not gonna say everybody, let's take that out. Most people's parents that I've heard of end up coming around, because at the end of the day, like, what are they gonna do? Like sever ties with their child? No, right? They still want to be involved with their child, their grandchild. So if you are stressed about that, I would just have trust and faith that like if it's maybe something that your parents are not the biggest fan of, or if you're with somebody who maybe your parents are not the biggest fan of, that like they would see, or you could even explain to them like why you love that person, why they're good for you. Of course, I hope they're actually a good person, right? And then just trust that like they will come around, because at the end of the day, like you are their child. And that what connects us at a deeper level, all this societal, like, you know, superficial stuff of like, I don't like this person, I don't want you to date, this person's out of the culture, what? That's all societal. If you go deeper, like your parents want what's best for you. And so just trust that they will come around and they will be supportive of you eventually. Years, it takes months. But if you have a strong gut feeling about what you're doing or who you're with, then I think trust that your parents. This was kind of a really random video. I think if you guys have more specific questions on like dating in a Desi household, or how I went about it, or like what you should be doing, or like if there's any specific questions, like comment them and I can make another video about this, because this is just very generic. It really kind of depends on like what problem you're having. If you don't already subscribe, please subscribe. I have a lot of other videos that relate to dating, how to know your worth beyond your looks, how to have confidence, how to be obsessed with yourself. I just posted a video on dealing with Desi parents. And yeah, I have a lot of other videos. I'm here for the brown girlies. I am literally here for advice. I'm a girl's girl. Whatever you guys need, like, comment, subscribe. You can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram, where I post the Sober for Men series, shorter story times, and I also post lifestyle content on Instagram. And yeah, I am so excited for you guys to come on this self-development journey with me and to navigate everything with me as a brown girl. I'm really here for you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.